Stand by to the floor. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coming to you live from the rich heartland of Altamont Springs, Florida, it's the Vic Show with Victor Bowers, brought to you by SuperChannel WACX TV. Take it away!
Greetings! Welcome again. Welcome to the Vic Show. I have another violin solo. Get ready, count your blessings. And the bubbles. Can you see them? Like my yellow shirt?
Love the yellow shirt.
Thank you. Your blessings. Oh, wow, that's messy. Dance interlude. Shake it but don't break it. It's the Vic Show. Okay, I gotta play. Here we go, high note. Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's the Vic Show. Fun and hilarity on the Vic Show. And bubbles. We finally fixed the machine back there. Welcome to the Vic Show. Let's have a few cleansing breaths. We're back together again. Just you and me. In my inflatable tube family, right? This morning, I woke up, I got a text from my nephew overnight, and he's in Las Vegas, and I'd sent him some clips from the show, and we were just chatting back and forth. But in the meanwhile, while we were chatting, I was browsing through some things at Amazon. You know how you do on your phone? You do 3 or 4 things at once. And I discovered they now have an inflatable tube gal. And so I'm going to order her. And so, because these are 4 guys up here, I'm like, we need more representation. So the inflatable tube gal's on the way. She'll be here tomorrow in her tiny box. She's purple. She has a necklace, lipstick. It's sweet. It's fun. It's laughter, you know. It's a Vic Show. So how are you doing out there? There. Where are you at? Hello, children. Children of the world. Welcome to the Vic Show. So yeah, I just played some music from a project called Victor Bowers Violin with Vocal Orchestra. We produced it over 20 years ago. And little bubbles. And anyway, we're putting it back on offer. $25 love gift to the SuperChannel, And we'd appreciate your donation, your support of the station. All the proceeds go to SuperChannel to fund the parent ministry of all that we're doing here. Because it's really, I was just telling the crew, right as we were saying, what an honor it is. It's a privilege to do this. And this, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun up here. And, but really, it's about telling the story of Jesus and telling the story of God in his Son, saving you, saving the world, doing all the heavy lifting for you. In the garden, in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, it was perfect. And then Genesis chapter 3 happens and things fall completely apart. Because in Genesis chapter 3, there were two trees, and the humans were given the choice of which tree to live from. And they were told not to live from one tree, and they were told to, by implication, to live only from the other tree. The first tree was the tree of life. This other tree was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God said, don't eat that one. That's off limits. You get the tree of life. You get life. Leave all the knowing of good and evil up to me, God said, because I know best. I know all. So if you try to know everything, if you try to decide what's good and evil for you, you'll screw it up. So don't touch it. You get the good tree, or you get the other tree, the tree of life. Well, of course, as all children, we want what we don't, we want what is not good for us. And so they made the wrong choice. And mankind, ever since, has been living from this tree of making their own decisions of what's best for them. You've heard that phrase. I know what's best for me, people say. If my decisions don't affect you, I can do what I want. And that's the modern mindset. Of course, it's deadly, because you don't know what's best for you. That's the point. But God, in his mercy and grace, has fixed the problem, and the solution is available to all.
Right
now,
on.
Some people don't want the solution. They reject it. They don't believe. And so that's the whole story of the good news and the gospel. So that's what we're up here talking about, and all the different ways we do it. Vic Show album, our Victor Bowers violin album. If you like that song that I halfway butchered, you can get the perfect version on the CD. But we like to have fun. And today I played one of my other violins. I wanted to talk about it real briefly. This is a violin. It's not my good violin. It's a violin that was given to me when I was in 10th grade by my social studies teacher. Does anybody remember social studies?
Yes.
Do they still have that in school?
It's not called social studies anymore.
Oh, well, back in my day, the early 80s, it was called social studies. And my teacher, 10th grade teacher, gave this violin to me because it was his son's. And his son did not take violin lessons anymore, and the teacher didn't know what to do with it. And it was really a piece of crap violin. When he gave it to me, it was all beat up, it was knocked up, and it doesn't have a good sound on its own. But when I put a little pickup on it, it really makes the instrument sing a lot better. So that's what I played today. And I just thought I'd
Sound great.
yeah, thank you. But today I played this. This is my $10 violin, because this is how much money I put into it to clean it up when I first got it. $10 violin. But it works nonetheless, right? I'm sure you enjoyed my violin solo. So,
Yes, we did.
thank you. So Diane and Terry, how are y'all doing?
Fabulous.
We're doing great.
Wonderful.
We're doing
Are you
great.
wearing your Vic Show t-shirts?
Someone,
That's
yes,
right.
we are.
Gotta wear the Vic Show
Wrong button.
t-shirts.
There you go. Diane, step into the light. I gave you a...
I had to come all the way
Oh,
over
well, then you're blocked by your own camera. Okay, never mind. Well, I'm trying to fix the lighting here. I'm doing the best I can. How's the control room looking? We got to do some work in the control room with the...
Rick got his hair done.
Oh, does he have his hair on today?
Yes, he
Oh,
has.
hello. Hello, Rente and Angie and Rick. I think that's Rick with,
That's Rick.
with that hat. And then Nathan's back there, and
Rasta Rick.
Rasta Rick. That's it. We're good. Anything I forgot before we move forward? Lord, thank you for this day
Yes.
and for your mercy and your grace. And it's in your mercy. It's in your mercy. None of this is deserved. We have not earned none of it. We get up every day and we live our life and we complain and we moan and we make our decisions and do our nonsense. And the fact that you woke up, even if you were sick, if you woke up, if you're listening, you're alive. And it's a privilege. Life may be horrible, but you're alive. And God has a great plan for you. I know it because he says it. He says it. Do you believe it or not? It's not a complicated question. God says he has the best intentions for you.
Preach it.
Preach it. Yes. Jeremiah 29:11. We all know it. It's become cliche. I know the thoughts and the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Thoughts of goodness and blessing and prosperity and love and fun and laughter and good times, and taking your bad times and taking your bad decisions and bringing something resurrection life out of them if you give them to me.
Right on.
Right on. Right. This is awesome. And right on. And so, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to be up here and to do what we do. It's wonderful. Thanks for the support, over 43 years of support in this one community, Central Florida. My parents started this station back in the late 70s through an inspiration my father received, and my mother agreed, and they together started this from nothing, except a dream, inspiration, some support from some people. Church, I think, our local church was supportive. First Assembly of God in Leesburg was supportive. And then time passes, and God shows up every day. And if you show up every day when God shows up every day, as time passes, something good will begin to happen. It won't happen overnight. Money doesn't rain from heaven. Money does not come out of the sky. Money comes and support comes, and everything comes into your life from relationship, from other people, that God will move into your life. Mm-hmm. And then he'll ask you to, it's all relational. All the blessings of the Bible, all of them that God promises you will not come from the sky. They will not come from some fantasy. They will come through relationships with other people. Like it or not, it's rough sometimes. We want our personal God to answer our prayer in our closet, to rain down the answer into our hands then and there. That's not biblical. That's fairy tale. That's Disney. But it's not reality. Reality is greater than that, but it will come through other people. Broken vessels, just like you. Weak, lost, lazy, lousy, sleepy, dopey, grumpy, will come just like that. I got to get preaching. Okay. Let me have some of my elixir. I love it, Arente. Keep it up. Arente's on the machine. I love it.
Good job.
Yeah, doing a very good job. Okay. Last time we were together, I was talking about the story from Mark chapter 5, and you can just stay in the Gospels your entire life and never get everything out of them. And it's a story of Jesus, who was in one area of Palestine, of his homeland, and he crosses to the other side. The title I gave my little story is The Other Side of the Story, because in the passage in Mark 5 we're going to read real soon, Jesus gets in a boat and goes to the other side. That's how it starts. Goes to the other side of the lake. The sea, they call it the lake, Sea of Galilee, or Lake Tiberias, as it was known then. It may be called that today, I'm not sure, but the lake is still there. The lake is still there, and it's a huge lake. It's a huge lake, maybe the size of Lake Harris in Lake County, or Lake Apopka, Lake Griffin, huge lakes. We in Florida know huge lakes, and in Michigan and other places. So it was a big lake, and they crossed to the other side. As they were crossing to the other side, this is the end of chapter 4 in Mark, before we start reading, there was a horrible storm on the lake. As they were crossing over, there was a horrible rainstorm. And they were in the middle of this lake. And I'll tell you, years ago, I was with my family, and we were on Lake Harris in Leesburg. And it was in late summer, about this time of year. And we were out there, and a storm came out of nowhere, and it was violent. And our engine quit, and we were stuck in the middle of Lake Harris, which is when you're in the middle of it, it feels like the ocean. And we were by ourselves, and it was a rainstorm with hell. I mean, it was, and we thought we were going to flip over. It was rough. And so they were in a storm like that. And this is the end of chapter 4. And it's a violent storm that comes out of nowhere. And Jesus is in the stern of the boat sleeping. And the disciples go down and they wake him up because he's fast asleep. And they kind of sarcastically say to him, Master, there's a great storm. Are you going to do nothing and let us drown? Like, hello, duh, Jesus. Why are you sleeping? There's a storm. Do you want us all to drown, buddy? I mean, is this your intent? Are you going to wake up? They're wanting him to do something, but what are you going to do? They didn't know, Jesus gets up and he speaks to the storm, and he speaks to the rain, and he speaks to the wind, and it all absolves. Peace. And the disciples say, they question, who is this man we're dealing with? He even has power over nature. And then chapter 5 happens. And let's go to chapter 5. Because in chapter 5, we see that what they were dealing with on the water, on the boat trip, was not so much a rainstorm, it was the demonic warfare. That was a prelude to what Jesus was going to interact in person with on the shore. So they went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. Then the man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained and had tore the chains apart and had broken the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" In God's name, I love it. He uses God's name. Demons use God's name. In God's name, don't torture me, please. This is what the demons are saying. For Jesus had said to the man, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." It's the impure spirits talking to Jesus, not through the man. The man's not talking. The demons are talking to Jesus. Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" I love that. Jesus, it's on. Game's on. "My name is Legion," the guy says, "for we are many." And a legion in Roman times was 6,000. Were there 6,000 demons inside this man? I don't know, but his name was Legion, implying, telling us, the reader, the guy was full of devils. Full of devils. Okay. And he begged Jesus again, "Do not send me out of this area." Okay. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. Little piggies. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission. He gave the demons permission. It's interesting. The demons asked to do something, and Jesus said, "Okay, I'll give you permission." And the impure spirits came out of the man and went into the pigs. The herd of pigs, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs, the pig tenders, ran off and reported this in the town and the countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. The townspeople were terrified of what they had seen. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let the man go with him, but said to the man, "You go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to preach in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. Here I go, Waterworks crying again. Nathan, go back to the prior page, please. Tell the Lord, and go to your home and preach. Tell us, preach. And preach to them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy, 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 mercy on you. The man was not a Jew. The man was living on the wrong side of the lake. He lived with the pigs. That tells us, the reader, he was not a Jew. Jews did not associate with pigs. Pigs were unclean. This man was naked, full of devils, a Gentile, and a lunatic. Preach it. And Jesus said, "You go and preach. I am going to preach it. Give me a moment. Go home to your own people, and you preach to them. And you tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." Why is the mercy so important? Because Jesus did not come to the Gentiles. Jesus came to his own people.
Sure enough.
Jesus came to his own people. This guy was not deserving of what Jesus was preaching to his own people. Jesus came to the Jews. Jesus was the personification of Israel. Jesus was the faithful Israelite that they had been praying for 1,000 years, who would please God fully and be their Messiah and lead them back into the glory of the Lord. This lunatic, naked, demon-possessed man didn't deserve any attention from Jesus. But Jesus, in his mercy, got in a boat the evening before, traveled across the lake, had a spiritual war with a bunch of devils in the form of water and wind, had to set his own boys straight, had to teach them a lesson, so much so that their minds were blown. Their minds were blown. They're like, who is this man we're dealing with? They didn't even call him by his name. Who is this man we're dealing with? He has power over wind. He has power over nature. Who are we dealing with in our boat? They were terrified. They get to the lake, and the greeting committee is a naked lunatic who can't even speak straight, full of demons, naked. And he was strong. He wasn't puny, because the scripture tells us he could break his own chains. He wasn't a tiny little man. He was a big man full of power. And this is the greeting committee that runs down to the seashore and says, "Jesus, Son of the Most High God." This man knew the name of Jesus. In the prior verses, the disciples didn't even know who Jesus was. They said, "Who is this man who is among us?" And when Jesus gets to the other side of the story, the demon-possessed naked lunatic greeting committee says, "Hey, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, why have you come over here? You're not to be over here. This is our side of this is the Decapolis. This is where the Romans, this is where the pagans, this is where the lost nations of Israel, that Israel displaced when they came over behind Joshua, this is where we ended up. And we're happy over here. Don't mess us up. You go back to your own people. They're screwed up. They need you. They need a Messiah. But we're lost and we know it. Just let us die in our sin and depravity. Leave us alone. Why are you over here? We have pigs to tend. We're busy." Jesus said, "Because I've come to deliver mercy. I've come to deliver mercy." Mercy, what is mercy? Mercy is different than grace. Mercy is what God, in God's mercy, he loves us.
Sure enough.
He loves us. He doesn't have to love us because we failed him. But in his mercy, and if you ever go to court, and you've heard the phrase, where someone who's guilty, they plead with the judge, "Have mercy on me." And the judge will say, the mercy of the court will be extended toward this plaintiff or this defendant. That's where the judge is saying, yes, the person is guilty, but in the mercy of the court, because the court wants to do a good thing, because the court has all power, and sometimes the court wants to throw a bone to somebody out of the mercy of the law, and the person will be given a lighter sentence. Mercy will be shown. Jesus said, you go and you tell your people that Jesus said, I can't go to your people. It's not my time. It's not my duty. My duty is to go to my people. But I'm going to give you power, and I'm going to commission you. I'm going to set you free. I'm going to buy you some clothes. I'm going to get you a haircut. Hey, Arente, where's our picture? Go ahead and put it up. I have this wonderful picture I took off the internet. It's out there, and we'll use it until they tell us not to. This is the great picture right here. Look at this guy's hair. I mean, the guy was brick. You need to get some hair like this. Look at Jesus. He's all cool and collected. His disciples are awestruck. Their mouths are just like, ah. And this guy, he was cutting himself. You've heard of people cutting themselves today? Well, it's not new. This guy was full of cuts. Look at that hair. So Jesus said, we're going to buy you some clothes. We're going to get you a haircut. And you go and you preach. I can't do it. Don't come with me. I want you to do what I cannot do, Jesus said. You go to your own people and you tell them about the mercy of God. You tell them the story of the mercy of God. And that's what he did. How do we know he did it? Because if you go to the next chapter of Mark 6 and 7, is where Jesus feeds, I think, the thousands, either the 3,000 or the 5,000. Jesus comes back to that region in Mark 7, I believe, and he feeds the thousands. This guy had been busy telling, so that when Jesus shows up back in the Decapolis in Mark 7, there are thousands of people waiting to hear about this man named Jesus. And Jesus preaches to them all day on the seashore. You know the story. And then he feeds them. All because this man was commissioned by Jesus to go and tell of the mercy. He didn't tell Jesus, he didn't tell, you go and you preach hellfire and brimstone. You go and you scare those people into the gates of heaven. He did not tell him to preach condemnation. And he didn't tell him to go live righteous. He didn't tell him he didn't tell him all those wonderful things which are fruits of a life changed by God. He told him to preach what the message is, which is in God's mercy, he has saved us.
Show enough.
Show enough. That is the story. That is the other side of the story. Jesus has gotten into his boat and he's come to your shore. And you're a demon-possessed, naked lunatic, proverbially speaking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You probably don't look like that, but probably many of you do. I've seen you at Publix. I used to look like that. In fact, they had a picture earlier. Don't show the picture, for God's sake. I'm in a flow. But you know what I'm saying. Or maybe not. That's a cop-out statement. But I love this story because it shows us God goes everywhere in his mercy. He doesn't have to. He could have stayed in heaven. But he got off his throne in humanity's form and has come as Jesus. And Jesus ascended. We read that in the scriptures. But he ascended human. He did not ascend back as something invisible. Because there's a reconnection between heaven and earth. Heaven has come here. We don't need to go up to heaven. Heaven has come here. That's the whole story. Read the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it already is in heaven. Just like Jesus, the guy wanted to go with Jesus. And Jesus said, no, you stay here. I'm going back to my side where I'm called. But I'm not called to your area. You're called to your area. Go and tell the people of the mercy of the Lord. You be the preacher. And this guy, the naked, lunatic, demon-possessed man, is the first Gentile missionary to the lost world. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thought? So there's hope. There's hope for you. Jesus has come to your side. He has a job for you, full of mercy. With God, all things are possible. Bye.
Well, it's a big show. Oh, it's a big band.